Hello everyone, I'm Malika Srivastav and I'm your trainer for Python programming. Let's start with the basics one so that I start from the very scratch so that if you have no knowledge about Python programming or any programming over there, so you can easily understand everything from the very scratch, which is very important actually. Okay, so first of all, I'm starting with what is actually Python. What is a Okay, let's see what is actually Python. Why we're talking about Python programming. Okay, so Python is basically a programming language. Okay, let me write down it here. So Python is, let me remove this point from here. Okay, so what is actually Python? Python is basically a programming language. Python is basically a programming language. Okay, let me remove these parts from here. So what is Python? Python is just a Python programming language. And for now, I'm going to remove everything from here, which is Python and programming. First of all, we are going to concentrate on language here. Okay. So on language, basically how it looks like. If I'm saying language, so what do you mean by language here? Language means by which we can communicate with each other. Okay. So what is actually language? By language, we can communicate with each other. Okay. Like suppose if I'm using English language or Hindi language or Malayali language or any kind of language here. Okay. So in this case, we are able to communicate with each other. That's why we are using any kind of language. No. So here, why we are saying Python is a programming language. Okay, so we understand what is actually language. A language, by language, we can communicate with each other. Okay, now the next thing is what is actually programming language? What is a programming language now? What is a programming language? Okay, so a programming language is basically a kind of language by which a system by which we can communicate with the machines. Okay, a programming language is a language by which we can communicate with each machines. Okay, if you want to communicate with your machines, we can use any programming language. Okay, in a programming language you can use any of the programming language, like you can use C programming, you can use C++ programming, you can use Java programming language. Okay, so lots of programming language are there. We have Ruby, we have Perl, we have different kinds of programming languages here by which we can communicate with each other, by which we can communicate with the machines. Okay, because machine can only understand 0 and 1 format, so we are unable to understand 0 and 1. It is very tough for us to understand all the 0 and 1 coding over there. So that's why we are using this kind of languages by which we can communicate with the machine. If we want to want that machine follow instruction, so we need this kind of languages, this kind of programming languages. Okay, now, the next thing is just like that C, C++, and Java, same way Python is one among of them. Python is also a programming language by which we can communicate with our machines. Okay, I hope this point is clear that what is exactly Python. So Python is a programming language by which we can communicate with our machines. We can give instructions to our machines. Okay, now let's talk about some more thing. So, our next slide. Here we are going to learn Python programming language. Okay. So basically, to learn anything, basically we have some prerequisite for that. Okay. So to learn Python programming, first of all, in prerequisite, we need a computer. Any kind of computer you can use. You can use a laptop, you can use a desktop, even you can use a mobile phone as well. It's totally up to you, whatever computer you have. Okay, you can do your programming in laptop as well, in computer system as well, like in desktop as well, even in the mobile phone as well. Okay, now we have different kinds of mobile applications are there, or online tool compilation are there, by which you can easily like do our programming in the mobile phone also. Okay, so a computer is needed because where you can practice over there. Now, the next thing is admin access of that particular computer, because when you're going to install that software, you need to give some access to that. That's why you need it. The next thing is you need internet access only on that part when you are going to install that particular software, the software of Python programming. Next one is space, because when you're going to install anything, you need some space to store it. So Python will only take 23 to 25 MB of space only. Okay. And then obviously because you need to do all that practice over there, you need to give all the uh, you need to give all that intentions, you need to give all that hard work is only yours. Okay, so keep practicing like after learning these things. Okay, so the timing is your, okay, all these things basically up to you. Now the next thing is, so what is the agenda for now? Actually, we are going to work with a small agendas. So what is the agenda for Python here? It is let's talk about what is actually Python, features of Python, what are the different features of Python, then how we can install Python in our system, execution step. Ideally, now let's talk about what is actually ideally now. So ideally, we see, basically we have IDE. The meaning of IDE is integrated development environment. Okay, like a place where we can read our code, write our code, and even execute our code, everything in the same software. That is called environment, integrated development environment. Okay, for Python also we have a default IDE here. It's just like for C++ or for C we are using Turbo C++ kind of IDE. We are using Eclipse for Java or for kind of thing. Okay, so we are using VS Code. Okay, for different program, for different for HTML, CSS, for JavaScript, for React, we are using VS Code for as a IDE. Okay, same way in Python, we have, when you install Python in your system, no, by default you got this IDLE, okay, kind of IDE where you can easily read your code, write your code, execute it, and get the output also of that same code in the same environment. Okay, and that is called IDLE. It is a kind of IDE actually. Okay, so the full form of IDLE is Integrated Development Learning Environment. Okay, and only this software we are going to use to learn Python programming, which is the basic one. And then when you're going to learn any other programming, any other thing on Python, like machine learning or any other thing, you can use different IDLE as well, IDEs as well. Okay, like Jupyter Notebook or Spider and all, PyCharm. Again, for now also, if you want, you can work with PyCharm or Spider or Jupyter Notebook as well. But in my opinion, if you're starting with Python, use IDLE for now. Okay, so what is IDLE? IDE is a kind of IDE where we can write your code, and get the code and the output in the same environment. Okay, good. And then the next one is creating first program of Python. So in the same video, we are going to learn how we can create the first Python program also. Like we are going to write our name in the output screen as of by using the Python programming. So let's start with that. Let me remove everything from here. Okay, so this is the agenda for this video. Maybe more than that now. So let's start with, now we already know what is actually Python. So Python is a programming language by which we can interact with our machines. Okay, so Python is a programming language which is created by Guido van Rossum in 1991, and which is very easy to learn and write because the syntax of Python programming is very easy. Okay, let's see. You can see here is Guido van Rossum, and let's talk some stuff about Python, which is the basics one. Let's see. So first of all, Python is a very straightforward syntax. Okay, Python is a very straightforward syntax. Like in other programming languages, I'm talking about C or C++ or Java, it will take like several lines of code or maybe 6 to 7 lines of code to just print your name. Okay, it includes some header files if you already learned C programming or C++ or Java. So in Java, you need to create the class first, then call the main function, and then you can only write the name or any other thing. But if I'm talking about C and C++, you need to include the header files, then call the main function, and then after that only you can easily print anything in the output stream. But like it will take 6 to 7 lines of code easily. But if I'm talking about Python programming, now it's very easy. So if you want to write your anything in the output screen, if you want to write your name in the output screen, you just need to write one line of code only. Just use print whatever you want to write in the output screen. Suppose I want to print my name. My name is Malika Srivastava. So I'm going to write my name here, Malika. There's no need of semicolon also. Just run this code and you are good to go. This is your first program in Python. Okay. So only one, not only one line of so okay. So only this one line of code will give you the output in the output screen. Okay. So that's why it is saying that Python is a very straightforward, has a very straightforward syntax. Then Python is case sensitive also. Case sensitive means in Python, upper case letters and lower case letters are totally different to each other. Okay. So in Python, uppercase letters and lowercase letters are different to each other. Like suppose if I want to print my name. So here in print, you need to use all that is small case letter. If you are using any letter as a capital, it is unable to understand it, because here it is a case sensitive programming language. Here uppercase letters and lowercase letters are totally different to each other. Okay, so case sensitive means alphabetical uppercase letters and lowercase letters are different to each other. Now, the next thing is object oriented. Now, what is so Python is not only Python is not only object oriented language, but it is functional oriented language also. Okay, but it is a main feature because it also follows OOPS concept, because now in Python also each and everything is an object. All the concept which we are using in our real world we can use in Python also, and which makes this programming language very easy, and we can easily construct any kind of thing very robust. Okay, so but this part we'll discuss when we are going to learn with the OOPS part. Okay, so for now I'm skipping this part. For now you can only understand that Python also follows OOPS concept. Not only OOPS concept, but Python also follows OOPS concept because it follows functional oriented programming also. Then Python 3, because Python is having two versions, Python 2 and Python 3. So here in this course, we are going to use Python 3 version, because in nowadays or for now, we are going to work with the latest version. All the companies are going to use that latest version there. Okay. But there is not very much difference in Python 2 and Python 3. The syntactical difference are not very much. If you understand Python 3, you can easily understand Python 2 as well. Only some of the return type of the functions are different. That's it. Okay. Now the next thing is curly braces replaced by indentation. So in other programming language, if we want to create a block, every time if you want to create a block, okay, so you need to create this kind of bracket there. Okay, let me show you. Suppose if I'm talking about, I want to create a if block. So we need to write it like this. If condition, after giving the condition, create the block. Okay, create the block, and that block is done by this curly bracket. Now, the thing is, if this condition is true, to execute whatever inside this block. If the condition is false, we are out of this block. Okay. Here in Python programming, now suppose if we are going to create the same if condition, so now you don't need to use that curly bracket to create the block. Directly you can say if condition, okay, and then when you are going to press enter after colon is very important here. So that means you are going to write multiple statement after that. So the next thing is, sorry, so the next thing is if the condition is true, okay, in this case it execute whatever inside it, but you are not creating any block here. It is because of when you press enter here, by default the cursor is here. After it, It will give you some space after that. Okay, it's a kind of tab space, you can say. Okay, but indentation is a fixed amount of white space. So when you press enter over here, it by default will give you some fixed amount of white space. Now all these things, if you write inside this block, you can write just after that only. Again, when you're going to press enter here, it will give you the cursor over here. You don't need to press backspace here. No need to worry about that if you are unable to understand it. For now, you can easily understand that curly brace is replaced by indentation. Curly bracket in other programming language used to create the block, but in Python, we are not using curly bracket to create the block. We are using indentation here. Indentation is used to create block in Python, which is just a fixed amount of white space. That's it. Okay. Rest of things we'll discuss in the programming part when you're going to understand the practical. So no need to worry about that. Now, the next thing is use variable without declaration. So in this case, use variable without declaration means, okay. So use variable without declaration means, suppose in other programming language, no, like suppose in C or in Java or in C++, if I want to store 5. So 5 is an integer type of language, okay. We want to store it into a variable. So if I'm using here A is equal to 5. So that is not correct. Why? Because you need to define that 5 is which type of data. So you need to define it here. Int a is equal to 5. Now you are bounding this a. Let me define it one more time. Suppose I have this 5 here, okay? I have this 5. I want to store this 5 in a variable. So variable is used to contain any a kind of container where we can store the objects. So I want to store this 5. So in this case, we need a container which store any integer type of data. So suppose I have a container here int a. We are declaring that in this a, we are bounding our variable that you can only store integer type of data. If the data is not integer, you can't store it in this variable. Okay, so you are bounding your variable with this type of data that in this a, we can only store integer type of data. If we are going to, so now we can easily say a is equal to 5 because 5 is integer, we can easily store in this a. But if I'm going to store 5.5, that is not valid in C or in other programming language because 5.5 is a float type of data and you declare that in a we can only store integer type of data. Then how it is possible to store float? Okay, so this kind of boundation is a programming language, but in Python there is no boundation in the variable. We don't need to declare the type of we don't need to declare the variable of its type. Okay, but we can easily say suppose we have this a, I want to store 5 in it. That's cool. You don't need to define this a that which type of data you need to store. Okay, in a I want to store 5.5, in a I want to store abc. So any kind of data you can store in this variable now. Okay, this is as much easy. You now use variable without declaration. Now we don't need to bound our variable with the declaration that in a you can only store integer, float, or character or string type of data. Okay, so now the variable is free, and at the runtime, whatever type of data it stores, it define the data when you are going to store that in the memory. Okay, so use variable without declaration. You don't need to declare the variable at the compile time. By default, you can store any kind of data in this variable and then you will get the value in the runtime. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Okay. So let's remove all these part. I hope as of now things are clear to each and everyone that whatever we discussed over here in this slide. If you're having any doubt, just let me know. Okay. Whatever process you need to follow, just follow it and just ask me the question, whatever you have. Okay. Now let's talk about the next thing, the next slide. So here we have features of Python.
Recording in progress.
Features of Python. So first of all, a very important feature we have is large library. So for that, I'm going to create a bamboo paper here and let me define it to you very clearly. Okay. So for that, I'm going to end this show for now. Let me open my bamboo paper for that.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so I've created that file here for Python recording. Okay, any name we can take. So let's talk about what is exactly large library. Okay, so before defining any other thing, we need to understand that what is exactly library. No, we need to understand.
Recording in progress.
So first of all, let's see what is exactly library. So a library is a kind of space where we can store different kinds of book in a particular manner, like this one. Let me take the example of my college library. Okay, when I was in my college. So as you can see, my drawing is bad, so don't judge me in that case. Okay, so suppose if I have this data here.
Recording in progress.
Suppose this is a library. Let me remove it, okay? So let me create a library here. Suppose if this is my college library, okay? You can assume your college library. Okay. Now, the next thing is, suppose if this is our college library, okay? So it is a place where we can store different types of books, okay? But we are not storing all the book in a kind of heap, but we have a particular management here to store all the books, okay? Like suppose if this is my college library, but it divided into multiple sections, okay? Suppose in this section we have all the computer science books are there. In this section we have all the mechanical engineering books are there. In this section we have all the electrical engineering books are there. And
Recording in progress.
in this section we have all the, let's use civil engineering books are there. Okay. Now the next thing is, suppose if I'm taking one of the branch here, like here in this section of the library, all the computer science books are there, all the mechanical and so on. Let me take the example of computer science here. So in this computer, see, we have different types of book in computer science. Like DSA books are there. We have DMS books are there. We have like information technologies books are there, Java books are there, Python book, programming language books are there, networking books are there, and so on. Okay, suppose we have multiple sections divided into computer science section as well. Okay, so suppose here I'm having all the
Recording in progress.
we have all the algorithm books are there. Okay, here we have all the let's see, networking books are there. Here we have all the programming languages books are there, and here we have all the discrete mathematics books are there. Okay, any random thing I'm using here just to define you how actually library works. What is the use of library in any programming language? Okay. Now the next thing is, suppose let me take one of the section from here just to define you. Again, I'm taking the example of programming language.
Recording in progress.
So we have different types of programming languages are there. Okay, again, I'm going to create this kind of section here. Suppose here we have all these C programming books are there. C++ programming books are there. Here we have all the Python programming books are. Then here we have all the Go programming language books are there. Okay. Again, if I'm taking the example of Python, we have different writers programming languages books are there. No, we have different books are there with different, we have different Python programming books are there with different writers. So we have different writers programming language books are there. Now Suppose if this is you, okay, or this is me, anyone you can take. Okay, so for now I'm using here, this is, suppose if this is you, okay, and you want to learn Python programming. Okay, now
Recording in progress.
in this case, suppose if I'm using here, if you want to learn Python programming, so we have two options are there to learn Python programming. In general, I'm taking an example. So the first thing is, and for that you need a book for that. Okay, so the first thing is you can get the book from the bookstore, and if you are in the hostel, okay, suppose you want to, you can get the book from the bookstore, or you can get the book from the college library also. Okay, we have two options. No, either we can get the book from a college library, or we can purchase the book from the bookstore, from the marketplace. Okay, let's talk about the pros and cons to access the book from the bookstore and from the library, from the college library. Suppose if I'm going to access the book from the bookstore, in this case, what will happen? If you want to get the book from the bookstore, it will take extra money. Okay, extra cost is required. Okay, because when you're going to purchase that book, you need to go to the marketplace first, and then you need to purchase the book. So extra cost is required. Also, from the hostel, if you're going to the marketplace, at least you need to read one Sunday, or 1 day of college you need to bunk. So in this, extra time is also required. Okay, so if you're going to access the book from the bookstore, it needs extra cost and extra time. But suppose if I want to access the book from the college library, so no extra cost is required. No extra cost is required. Why? Because in our tuition fees, already the library fees is covered. So no extra cost is required. And to get the book, if you're in a college, to get the book from the college library, you can get the book in between 10 to 15 minutes only. No, so no extra time is also required. And after learning, one more point here, after learning the book, now you can easily put the book in the college library again. You don't need to put this book in your own cupboard. Okay, so in this case it will take less memory also, or less space as well. Okay, so these are the pros and cons, which is the use of library in general. The same thing happens in programming languages also. Like suppose if you have, let me take this here, let me take another page here. So here, suppose we have a Python library. We have a Python library. Okay, same way, just like our call library, we have the Python library. We have different sections are there. We have some sections are there. Okay, so here suppose we have all the calculation functions are there. We have, look at, different functions are there. If you want to do some addition, suppose, okay, let me write it in a proper way. Okay, so suppose if this is my if this is my Python library. Okay, in this Python library, again we have different sections are there, just like our college library. So we have different sections are there. Now suppose in this in this section we have all the math calculation functions are there. Here we have all the trigonometry, or maybe data visualization functions are there. Here we have all the data analytics functions are there, and here we have all the data, maybe TK inter, maybe any kind of deployment functions are there. Okay, for now you are unable to understand, no need to worry about that. I'm just taking the example over here. In math calculation, suppose again we have multiple functions are there. So I'm creating some different kinds of module here. Here we have all the let's see, general calculation functions are there. Okay, here we have all the trigonometric calculations are there. Here we have all the calculus functions are there. Here we have all the statistics functions are there. Okay, now in general calculation, suppose here we have addition, function, multiplication function, division function, subtract function, and so on. Now, here you are working with a Python programming module. Okay, you have a file here. You are working on a project here in Python, and you want to create a calculator now. Okay, so how to create a calculator? To create a simple calculator for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, let me put the name of this file, myfile.py. Okay, you want to create a program here for simple calculation, like simply for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division calculator. So in this case, one thing, you have two options are there. Either you can create all that thing one by one, like you can create the function, or you can create the program for addition, then for subtraction, then for multiplication, and then for division. It will take lots of time. One by one you need to create it, and then you can use it only. We have one more option for that. Okay, that is basically manual. Now we have one more option for that. In manual process, it will take extra time and extra memory also, but in all these things are already available in the library itself. Why you are creating all that thing again if it is already available in the library? So you can just import it directly and reuse all the thing which is available in the library. So if you want to use addition function, all these things are already defined here. Import it from here and just call the add function, pass the parameter, and get the output. You don't need to create anything from the scratch. Okay, everything is already available in the library. Import it and reuse it. If the thing is available, import it and reuse it, because all these things are already available. If it is already available, you don't need to create it from the scratch. So this is the use of library. And if the library is very large, you don't need to create much of the things. Okay, easily you can import and reuse it. You don't need to create anything from the very scratch. It will take very less amount of time to create any project. Okay, so this is the use actually for the large library. Okay, I hope this part is clear to you. That what is the use of large library in Python? Okay, and that is why it is very popular also. If you're again, I'm saying, if you're having any query, you can just let me know whatever process you need to follow. Please give me the query, whatever you have. Now, the next thing is code readability is good. Uh, this is why, because we are using indentation, as we learned in our previous file, in our previous slide here, that if you want to create a block, no, we are only going to use here the indentation part. Okay, and because of this because now we are not using any kind of curly bracket, because anywhere you can, to close the block, you can use any kind of anywhere you can use the curly bracket now. But now we have a proper indentation here. If you want to create the block, you don't need to do it manually. By default, Python will create the block. Okay, it will not create, you are not creating the thing manually, and that is why the code looks clean. And if the code is clean, that means it is good to read the code. It is very, the code readability is good. Okay, and all these things are basically because of that indentation only. You will easily understand when you're going to learn in the programming part. Now, the next thing is uh, automatic memory management and garbage collector. But before that, just write this line, and let just pause this video, read this line, and I hope you will easily understand the point. Okay, just take 1 minute of time and read the line.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so I hope you read the line and you easily understand the point also, because we defined the same thing in the last slide as well. But let me discuss this one more time. So dynamically typed, okay, which is also one of the feature of Python. And that is, Python is a dynamically typed language, which means that we do not need to declare the variable or their type before using them in a program. So now you don't need to declare the variable directly. If you want to use any variable, you can easily use it in any kind of data you can use. Okay. So we already discussed that thing in the last slide there. I hope that is clear to you. Now the next thing is automatic memory management. Again, before that, let me discuss this platform independent part. What is platform independent here? Basically, it is having two part in it. Okay, first one is platform and second one is independent. Okay, what is the meaning of platform here? The meaning of platform here is operating system. It is operating system independent. This means that the Python program you are writing in the Windows, the same Python program will execute in Linux or any kind of operating system. Okay, so doesn't matter which operating system you are using, the same program will execute in any different kinds of operating system. So that is why it is saying platform independent. It is because of it can, you can just write it once and execute it anywhere. Okay, it is called platform independent. Now then let's talk about automatic memory management and garbage collector. For that again I need that bamboo paper. Let's talk about that. So automatic memory management and garbage collector. Also you will be getting all that notes whatever I'm writing and whatever I'll code. Okay, so no need to worry about that. So automatic memory management and garbage collector, let's see what is over there. So let me give you one example for that. Suppose if I have x is equal to 2. Okay, and before that, suppose if I have two files here. Okay, if I have two files here. Okay, this is my triple a dot py file. Why I'm using here py, it is because it is the extension of Python file. So it's a Python file. Then we have triple b dot py. So we have two Python files are there. Now suppose here we have a is equal to 2, b is equal to 3. Okay, and some other values are there. Here we have x is equal to 5 and y is equal to 6 and some more values. Okay. So when we are going to execute this triple a.py, how it works in our memory, let's talk about that. So suppose if this is my memory. Okay. It's just a hypothetical view. So when you are going to execute triple a.py, a is equal to 2. So in a, it holds 2. Then b is equal to 3. So now in b we have 3. And then we have more things are there. Now, after that, support is it execute triple b dot py now. Okay. So x is equal to 5. So in x we have 5. In y we have 6. Okay. Now, let me know one thing, everyone. When I'm executing triple b dot py, is there any use of a and b here? Understand the question one more time. If I'm going to execute triple b dot py, then let me know, everyone. If I'm going to execute triple b dot py, then let me know, is there any use of a or b here in our memory? No, it only works on x and y. Here there is no use of a and b. Now, if we're working on triple a dot py, let me know, is there any use of x and y here? It only works on a and b. The interpreter will not work on x and y here. Okay. Also, one more thing you need to remember, that every time you execute the code, the it will give you the location in the memory. Every time it will take the new location. Okay, it will create the new object every time. Like suppose if you are going to execute triple a.py, in a we have 2, in b we have 3. When you're going to execute the code one more time, the same code when you're going to execute one more time, again in a we have 2, in b we have 3, it will create it once again. Doesn't matter whether it is in the place or not, it is in the memory or not. Every time when you execute this code, this triple a.py, every time it execute, it creates this a and b object in the memory. Okay, I hope this part is clear. Now let me explain it again, understand it very clearly. So In triple, we are going to execute triple A dot py. In A we have 2, in B we have 3. Okay. Now, then we are going to execute triple B dot py. In X we have 5, in Y we have 6. But the problem is, if we're executing triple B dot py, there is no use of A and B. And that is why if any object is not useful currently, the garbage collector will remove that particular object. Okay, so in this case, when you're executing triple B dot py, there is no use of A and B here. So it removes these objects from here. Okay, same way. Now again, when you can ask, then what will happen, ma'am, when because we need A and B once again, no? So remember one thing, every time when you execute the code, every time when you execute this file, every time it creates the new object in the memory. So it doesn't matter whether this object is in the memory or not previously. It creates the thing once again. Okay, so when you execute the same file once again, it creates A and B once again. So it doesn't matter whether it is available in the memory or not. Always it creates the new one. Okay. So that is because of that, the garbage collector removes that objects which is not currently in use. Okay. Let me discuss it one more time. Okay. I'm discussing it easily understand. Again, if you remember, if you are having any confusion, just repeat the video once again and understand it. Okay. I'm repeating this process once again. So we have one file, suppose triple A dot py. Okay. Here we have in A I have 5, in B I have 6. This is our memory. When you execute this file, in A we have 5, in B we have 6. Okay. When you execute once again this file, it creates A and B once again. Doesn't matter whether it is available in the memory or not. It creates the new one. Okay. Now, and now you can see if any of the object is not currently in use, is removed by the garbage collector. The use of garbage collector is to remove all the object from the memory which is currently not in use. Okay. Now, so that is removed from here. Now, suppose if I have another file here, triple B dot py. In X I have 2, in Y we have 3. So when you execute triple B dot py, in X we got 2, in Y we got 3. But here we already have A and B. So that is removed by the garbage collector because currently we are working on X and Y, not for A and B. So that is removed by the garbage collector because it is not currently in use. Again, when you execute triple A dot py, it creates A and B once again because every time you execute the code, it creates the object again and again and again. I hope what is garbage collector is clear to each and everyone. Okay, now then the part of memory management. Again, you can see here, every time the garbage collector is removing the object which is not currently in use. So it is because of memory management. We are managing the memory that to free the memory out of that object. Okay, it is again the part of memory. It will free the memory by using the garbage collector to manage the memory. One more example I am giving you for the memory management. Suppose in X I have 2. Okay, this is how it looks like in the memory, a hypothetical view. So suppose in X I have 2, in Y I have 4. Okay, so in Y we have 4. In Z, suppose again I have 2. So what will happen? Python interpreter will not create Z for 2 once again, but because this 2 is already available in memory, uh, X and Z are going to share the same object from here. It's just like in our home. If I have a laptop and my brother also wants the laptop, so my parents will say that share the same laptop. Okay, share the same laptop because the product you can share with all of you now. We can share with the siblings. But in some cases it may possible that now I need the laptop maybe for more than time, and that my brother is also need the laptop for that time on the same time. In that case we are unable to share. Okay, so in that case we need, what we want, we need to create the same object once again in the memory. So for that we have another process for that to create the same object again in the memory. But by default, if you have any object, and again if I'm using p is equal to 2, it share the same thing with the object. It will not create the new one. That is again the example of one of the work of memory management. Okay, I hope this part is clear to everyone now. Okay. So I hope all the points are clear to everyone, like what is large library, code readability is good, automatic memory management and garbage collector, dynamically typed and platform independent. If you're having any query, any kind of query you have, any kind of doubt you have, just follow the process and ask me the question. Okay. So after learning all that thing, or after learning what? After learning Python programming. Okay, what we can do after learning Python programming? So it can be used for, first of all, it can be used for console based application. If you want to create a console based application, means a kind of in the output screen we are getting a black screen, okay, where we do not have any kind of GUI kind of thing. Okay, when only the textual output are there, that is called console based application. So you can create a console based application, you can create a desktop based application like a calculator or a notepad kind of thing, a desktop application you can create. Even if you want to create a web based application also, you can create a web-based application or you can create a website as well by using Python programming. And all these things, it is just because of the large library of Python. Okay, now suppose if you're interested to create a console based application, you can easily use your Python code. Okay, then if you want to create a desktop based application, you can use tkinter, which is very famous to create a desktop application by using Python. Again, it is an inbuilt library in Python. You can directly, you don't need to install it. So by tkinter you can easily create a desktop based application like calculator or notepad or kind of thing. Any kind of software you can create which is a desktop based application. You can create, if you want to do a web application, you can use kiwi for that. Okay, you can use Flask or Django or Streamlit for website development and so on by using Python code. Okay, even not only this one, if you want to work in data analytics part, in that case you can work with the pandas for data analyst, for data analytics. If you want to like after learning Python programming, you can work on uh, machine learning, you can go on with the data analytics, you can go on with AI and so on. So different fields are there if you learn Python programming. Now, so the next thing is how to install Python. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. Let's see how we can download Python in our system. Let's see. So first of all, as you can see the link here, you can follow this link. I'll give you over there. Or let me just install it in my system as well, so you can just follow the process. Okay, so let's see. Let me first remove whatever Python I have in my output in my system. So let's see. Python, and I have 11.5 version. I want to uninstall it so that I can show you how actually we can install the version. Okay, so it will take some time. I'm installing the latest version of Python so that we can work with the newer one. Okay. Like I'll show you the process actually so that you can follow. Let's wait for it until it remove the file from here. Done. Let me close it. Now let me show you how actually we can install everything in our system from the scratch. Okay, just open your browser and just type Python download. Python download. Okay, and you can see the official website of Python, python.org. Let me click on it. Python.org downloads. Okay, and you can see the newer version of Python is 3.12. Okay, so download Python, just click on it. For Windows, you can easily click on it. For any other for any other kind of OS, you can click on it. Like for Windows, for Mac OS, for Linux, Unix, and others, you can click on it. But because my system is of Windows, it of recognize it and give me the option for Windows. Okay. So as you can see, it is installing it. Now, done. Click on it to open. Before clicking on install now, just click on add python.exe to path, which is a very important step. Just click on it and then click on install now. Yes. And let's wait for it until it install everything. It will take some time. It depends on your internet speed or maybe on your computer's processor and all. So let's wait for it until it install everything. Okay. Done. So click on close. Okay. Just to check whether my Python installed correctly or not, just go on your search box and just type here command prompt cmd to open your command prompt and type Python to check whether Python installed in your system or not. Enter. And you can see Python 3.12 version is already installed in my system. Let's do some programming also. Directly you can run the code in the command prompt also. I want to check, so I can just easily say 2 plus 9. Yes, it is giving me the answer. That means our Python correctly installed in my system. Okay, even we can start working with our first program also. I'm using here print because in Python you don't need to write anything here. You can easily write print. You don't need to don't need to include any header file. You don't need to create any class here. Directly you can start with the first program if you want to print anything in the output screen. So print, and if you want to write your name, that's the same thing you want in the output screen. Just use the single or double quotes here. I'm using the double inverted comma quotes, and I'm writing my name here. Close it, and there's no need of semicolon. Just press enter, and you can see whatever I'm writing here in the print method, I'm getting it in the output screen. Suppose I want to, as I already told you, dynamically typed. So in A, I have 8, suppose. You can see there is no foundation here to store any value. Okay, we are not declaring this A, and again, we can easily store the value in this A. Also, I want to print the value of A. So print, if I'm using my inverted comma to print A, you can see I'm getting this A from here. But I want the value of A, not exactly A. So in this case, we can avoid that inverted. We can directly say A. That means I want to print the value of A. If you're using inverted, that means you want to print exactly the same thing. And then you can simply give the value of A, which is 8. Same way, if I'm using A is equal to 67. Let me print the value of A. Okay, if I'm using A is equal to ABC. Again, as you can see, it is dynamically typed language. You don't need to declare the type. Any kind of data you can store in this A or any kind of variable. Okay, so print A. Okay, that's it. So now I have, as of now, things are clear to each and everyone. For the next session, please install Python in your system. Okay, and let's meet in the next video. Thank you, everyone.